Fair to say that Thurrock has a alcohol problem?
I think that there is certainly an alcohol issue in Thurrock, and that's one which is to some extent historical. There's always been an issue about alcohol misuse in Thurrock, but again you have to see in the context of what's happening nationally. I think the figures indicate that we have got an issue that needs addressing, and I suppose that comes through particularly when you look at public opinion. People are very concerned about perceptions of rowdyism or disorder that's associated with drink, and the latest survey shows that there is an issue in terms of public confidence about that, and that to some extent mirrors what's happening nationally, and that to some extent reflects national concerns about that. And certainly the National Awareness Week, in which we're taking part at the moment, is about educating people about what alcohol can do, what dangers of overuse, but also it's about giving people the figures and facts so they can actually have a more proportionate view of what the issues actually are.
Is it a strange culture? Because I'm driving down Hathaway Road this morning at 11 a.m. and there's a man walking down the road with a can.
Yeah.
I say there's a man with a can. If there was a man with a syringe, I would say there's a heroin addict.
Yes.
So why are we so loath to use the term as a man with a drink problem?
Well, I think, I've seen people carrying cans of lager around at various times of the day, which look a little bit odd, and I wonder whether it's a bit of a fashion statement more than the fact that they're heavily drinking, and I sense that might be true certainly with some younger people. But again, it's part, I suppose, of the history of alcohol, that it's not illegal to drink alcohol, and in certain circumstances it's not illegal to drink it in public spaces. There are issues around that in certain places, and we can talk about that, but generally speaking you're perfectly at liberty to buy it and drink it wherever you want, provided it's not causing any inconvenience to other people. That is very different from obviously illegal use of drugs or the use of illegal drugs.
And so what are the benefits of having a National Alcohol Awareness Week?
I think it's about making sure people actually understand more fully what the issues are. I was going to say dangers. I mean, the figures indicate that the majority of people in this country take a drink. I do. And it's a perfectly reasonable, rational and sociable thing to do. But people who do drink need to understand that there are implications of that, and if they overuse drink, they run health risks, and these health risks can be quite stark. So the government has issued guidelines on what would be a healthy level of drinking in terms of units, which is 2 to 3 units a day for a woman and 3 to 4 units a day for a man. And it's about just letting people know what does that mean, because to most people that means very little indeed. And so it's about letting people understand what that looks like in terms of a couple of beers, or is that scotch? I mean, if I have 3 gin and tonics, am I over the daily limit? It's really about that. It's about letting people understand what alcohol does, why it does it, and if they are to drink, that they do so in an informed way.
But you may not be able to comment on this, is your task made harder if you go down to a supermarket and you'll see they'll have supporting local sports, they'll have initiatives to do healthy eating, and then the third advert will be 8 cans for £2.22.
Sure.
Does that make your task very hard?
It certainly doesn't make it easier, because if you look at the comparative cost of alcohol now compared to a couple of decades ago, it's a lot cheaper. I think that if you were to look at the price of a bottle of whiskey in 1960, the equivalent price today would be about £50. You don't pay, well, you may buy a select whiskey, but essentially you can go and buy whiskey for a fifth of that price. And the same is true of beers, and of course the strength of the beers is an issue as well. So that doesn't make it easy. The availability of alcohol in terms of the number of outlets selling it is substantially increased, so it's much more accessible.
The Oasis Centre on Orsett Road, that's been now open for a couple of years.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going brilliantly. It's certainly the case that that's been enormously successful in terms of its high street location. It's getting to be well known by people, and I think people are starting to understand perhaps more clearly what happens in there. I think when it's first set up there was some concerns about what this place was all about. It's without using the jargon, it's essentially a place where you can walking off the street, and you'll get advice about substance misuse, because it's more focused on drug issues than drink, but it does also deal with drink cases.
And how do you quantify success, so to speak?
Well, that's a very difficult question in terms of absolute success, and there's a debate within the drink and drugs arena about what success actually does mean. Does it mean that somebody is wholly abstinent, or or drinking in a controlled way? And different people have very strongly held views that are very different from each other. For me, success looks like getting the numbers of people into treatment who are given a good service and come out in what we call a planned way. So we anticipate when somebody comes in for treatment that they will have a certain course of interventions, we say, or actions, activities, and that they do complete those. So, for example, if we look at alcohol this year, the first 6 months of this year, we've had 150 people who've come through, who come into treatment with us, that have had what we call alcohol brief interventions. A bit of a jargon, essentially means that they talk to somebody who's trained up to deal with that sort of issue. They talk through the issues of their drink, of countermeasures to bring it to a more controlled way. And there's a program of activities they go through, which can include things like complementary therapies, things like reflexology and acupuncture in the ears and that sort of stuff. And art therapy, that's very effective in terms of giving people alternative interests. And we've just recently had published the next year's calendar, which is made up of artwork from these users. And of those 150, already 71% have completed successfully. And the question, the so what of all that is, what does that mean? Well, we know from long research that 1 in 8 of successfully completed alcohol brief interventions has a substantial and long-lasting effect on the level of drink, i.e. it's reduced or people do indeed become abstinent. That compares with a success ratio on those terms of 1 in 20 with drug brief interventions. So it's highly effective, highly successful, and that's what treatment success looks like for me in terms of alcohol cases.
Do different people have, so to speak, Pauline moments when it comes to why they stop drinking? People, I've spoken to some people who have said, I just got full up.
Yeah.
And they had to have that moment when they felt full up. I'm not sure if that was a metaphor, but do different people come from different areas?
Some do, certainly. Some do. They will be able to say that they had an incident, an event took place, or they woke up one morning and thought, I'm sick to death of feeling like this every morning. Or they've just been made redundant, or they've lost their license, or something like that. And that is the catalyst for them to change. Other people, it's a more gradual process that they actually get fed up with, or grow out of it, or find that the cost of it is becoming exorbitant, and they just gradually go out of it. But at some point, you have to have what I refer to as a click-over moment, when actually you think something's going to change. And that's when they reach that point, my job is to make sure that they know what is available to me, what can I now do. And so obviously that's why places like Oasis are so important to us, because if they don't have the details, they can walk past, they can see the numbers, they can ring up in confidence. There's a 24/7 helpline, anytime, day or night, 365 days a year. They can speak to a trained local expert who'll be able to give them some initial advice and then talk to them about maybe taking a longer term response.